We remember the 1920s as a spontaneous cultural explosion, an era defined by speeding roadsters, glowing theater marquees, and cities humming with wealth. Yet the pillars of modern middle-class life, the 8-hour workday, the weekend, and a car in every driveway, were corporate strategies calculated to solve specific industrial problems. The mechanical and financial engines that built this prosperity were also creating a vacuum. Long before the stock market crashed in 1929, an economic depression was already hollowing out the lives of millions. To understand why this boom was so fragile, we have to look at the factory floor and see how mass production changed the mechanics of American supply and demand. By the 1920s, industries adopted modern organizational structures. They created specialized divisions for marketing and accounting, while managers applied Frederick Taylor's principles of scientific management. They took complex manufacturing and broke it down into small, highly efficient, repetitive tasks. Henry Ford pushed these studies to their limit. In 1913, he installed the first moving assembly line at his Highland Park plant. By 1925, that relentless motion meant a brand new Model T rolled off the line every 10 seconds. This chart maps Model T price against sales volume, illustrating economic elasticity. As production reduced the price from $850 to $295, demand exploded. To ensure workers could buy them, Ford doubled pay to $5 a day, intentionally turning his employees into a consumer base. Mass production solved the supply problem. Goods cost less to make, and workers earned more. This system flooded the market with cheap products and reshaped the geography of the country, allowing people to live further from work as auto commuters. This industrial momentum supported new sectors. Following the Wright brothers' early successes, the aviation industry developed steerable wings and larger aircraft. By the mid-20s, the federal government began hiring private airplane operators to carry mail, laying the groundwork for commercial airlines. Sound transmission also became practical. What began as a single Westinghouse broadcast in 1920 grew into nearly 700 stations by 1927. National networks like NBC and CBS formed to pipe music, comedy, and news into living rooms from coast to coast. Yet a mathematical bottleneck emerged. Even with higher wages, the sheer volume of radios, appliances, and indoor plumbing exiting factories cost far more than the average family had in liquid cash. The factory simply outpaced the public's ability to pay. To keep the assembly lines moving, corporate companies turned to mass advertising that used psychological insecurities to aggressively sell products. More importantly, they introduced a revolutionary financial shift, the installment plan. These pie charts show a massive shift in consumer behavior. Before the 1920s, most Americans considered debt shameful. By the end of the decade, 75% of radios and 60% of automobiles were bought on credit. This decade of growth relied on an invented system of consumer debt rather than accrued wealth. People accumulated debt at a rate that exceeded their actual income. While city centers buzzed with credit-fueled buying, millions of Americans were structurally excluded from the boom. African Americans who held factory jobs during the war were often replaced by returning servicemen. Native Americans remained isolated on reservations with little work, and many immigrants were trapped in low-wage manual labor. Prosperity also came with a physical cost. The same efficiency that made factories productive also made the work difficult. Assembly line workers spent 8 hours a day performing monotonous, physically degrading, and repetitive tasks. The Roaring Twenties was a localized phenomenon. It created a geographic and demographic wall that separated a prosperous middle class from an impoverished underclass. This divide was most visible in rural America. Throughout the decade, the agricultural sector suffered through a quiet depression. Farmers were caught in a trap. They borrowed heavily to buy motorized tractors, improved seeds, and fertilizers. These tools allowed them to produce massive crop yields, but this overproduction caused the market prices for corn and wheat to plummet. Global factors made the crisis worse. European countries, burdened by war debt, could no longer afford American crops. Meanwhile, Congress passed the Ford-Macumber Act in 1922, raising tariffs and causing foreign markets to stop buying American agricultural products. The 1920s drafted the blueprint for the modern American lifestyle, but the system rested on a mountain of individual debt and a collapsing agricultural base. This reliance on credit and the neglect of the rural economy constructed a house of cards, leading directly to the Great Depression.